Family Services Incorporated has been around since 1879, and we provide services to a variety of constituencies. Our mission is to help families and individuals help themselves through service, through collaboration and advocacy. We provide services to the youth in after-school programs in elementary schools in Poughkeepsie here. We provide services to those older youth who are seeking employment. We have very strong services for victims of domestic violence. Our battered women's services is revered throughout the county and, as a matter of fact, throughout the state. We also provide services to men who have a history of being abusers. We run domestic abuse awareness classes, and those are intended to be targeted toward those men who have had that type of history. We have a very strong crime victims assistance program. We have a family education program that runs in Ulster County, and also substance abuse prevention programs as well. So those are just a few of the services we provide. And a very prominent service that we provide is we own the Family Partnership Center in Poughkeepsie here. And this partnership center, which is a former high school, is now a nonprofit center that houses 15 organizations that provide a variety of different services. Duchess Outreach has the lunchbox, where they serve up to 250, 300 meals in a given day to people who are in need. They run a food pantry. We have the Real Skills Network that is operated for the children of Poughkeepsie. We have a drug treatment program run by St. Francis Hospital called The Turning Point. We have Hudson River Healthcare, a wonderful clinic that provides primary care to people who can't afford it otherwise. Those are just a few of the services that we provide here in the Family Partnership Center. And all of those agencies are called upon to collaborate with one another so that people coming into the center know that if they have a particular need that's not being addressed by the primary organization that they're working with, can be referred elsewhere within the building. It's a critical part of Poughkeepsie. It's a critical part of helping some of those people who are in the most need within the community. In watching the debates that we've seen in the initial parts of this presidential campaign, it's disheartening to see how little is said about the problems of poverty within the United States. This economic recession has taken a terrible toll on many people, but there are so many people who have been driven into poverty for a variety of reasons. People who are suffering economic poverty, but also poverty of the spirit and soul. We see this more and more at Family Services. We see people more and more needing the services of, say, Duchess Outreach, one of our partner tenants in Family Partnership Center. We see it in the rise of instances of domestic violence. Domestic violence is certainly nothing to be excused by economic poverty, but certainly is related to economic poverty in many, many instances. The stresses and tensions that are placed on families. So I hope that we can see more attention paid to the issue of poverty within our nation, because for sure we've seen it rise over the last several years, and we're in a place now where I think we never thought we would be again, following some of the great work of the 60s and 70s. But unfortunately, we're there, and we have to get ourselves out of it, and we have to help people get out of poverty. More and more with the reduction and, in some instances, the disappearance of funding from city, county, state, and federal sources, we as an agency at Family Services rely more and more heavily on private philanthropy. We count on people within the community who know the good work that we are doing to come forward and through large or small donations help us continue to address our mission. It's very heartening to see, and as a matter of fact, I've had the pleasure within the past month of signing numerous end-of-year contribution thank you notes. It's heartening to see how many people have come forward and written a check helping us to do our work. We're looking forward to more of that, and unfortunately, though, even in the area of private giving, we see that those private donors sometimes, because of the economic recession, are in less and less of a position to give, but nevertheless, we're heartened to see that many do. While Family Services does not provide specific services to people with developmental disabilities through OPWDD, the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities, I've had a long history of working in that field. And certainly many of the stories that have been told in the New York Times articles are terribly disturbing. And it's a very positive thing that the Times has uncovered those instances and raised public awareness. I will say, however, that it's very important for the general public to be aware also of the fine work that is done by so many direct support professionals and so many fine agencies within the system of care for people with developmental disabilities. There are many people who are living richer lives because of those services and because of the fine people in those agencies. As a matter of fact, Clarence Sundrum, who is the special advisor to the governor on issues having to do with vulnerable populations, he did a presentation recently and showed the level of the standard of oversight that is given in protecting vulnerable populations, and in comparing those that are within the system of the Office of People for the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities to some others, such as foster care or nursing homes, etc. Those services provided by OPWDD or through OPWDD are of a higher standard in terms of the oversight and avoidance of abuse and neglect. Again, where that abuse and neglect does occur, it's got to be routed out. The people who are perpetrating those malicious instances of abuse, they need to not be working in the caregiving field. And that's a good byproduct of some of the work that's been done by the New York Times. But again, I would urge the public to look at all the good work that is being done as well and make sure that those services continue. Well, some of the challenges that the agency faces are that, the need for the services we provide have risen. Clearly, more and more people are in need of our services, and yet the resources that are available to assist those individuals and families have diminished, and in some instances have disappeared. Up until recently, we operated a program, a teen parenting program, where we supported those teen parents who had children or were about to have children and helped them to become better parents and be stronger and more supported in their plight. God knows being a teen parent has tremendous challenges. That program was tremendously successful in that in 95% and more of the cases that we worked with teen parents, out-of-home placement into foster care was avoided. What a fabulous success. And yet, with the stroke of a pen, New York State eradicated all funding for this program. And so we and other providers of the service throughout the state were no longer able to sustain it, and we had to close up shop. Who knows what's going to happen in the instances of those teen parents who need support. So there's some ironies, some contradictions, disturbing contradictions here, in that the need for services increases and yet the resources diminish. We do look to private donors to supplement the services, supplement the funding that's provided by government sources. And people have been very generous in many instances in coming forward and writing that check. And so that's a tremendous effort that we have. What is encouraging in the face of all those challenges is the spirit of commitment that I see among the Family Services staff in continuing to make sure that we provide quality services. I think the Occupy movement has taken me by surprise somewhat. I'm very encouraged by it because they are pointing out something that's of vital importance in our society, and that is the disparity between those people, the haves and have-nots, and the disparity of income and wealth that exists and is growing within our country. I think it's vital that those people involved in this movement and the media continue that conversation, and hopefully through that continued conversation, and hopefully through that conversation translating into policy changes through government policies and even policies within corporations, that those disparities will diminish, and we can come to a more sane place in terms of our economy and the well-being of people on all rungs of the ladder in our country. My top two hopes for the agency, well, in addition to continuing to provide wonderful services, is to grow and strengthen the collaboration that is shared by all of the partner tenants within the Family Partnership Center. We have some fabulous agencies here, fabulous organizations, and I think through greater collaboration and working together, we can even grow those ways in which that we affect those in greatest need within our community. I think there's fabulous potential for greater collaboration, and I look forward to that happening in 2012. The other thing I look forward to is the continued generosity of private donors, those people who support our special events, who support the services that we provide, who are willing, despite their own challenges at home, in their home budgets, that they are willing to write a check and make themselves one of our supporters of family services.